First of all, it is appalling and it is very heartbreaking to see that it's still business as usual. Women and girls are still victims of domestic violence in Sierra Leone. We totally condemn the act because we don't support the fact that a woman has to go through physical or sexual or emotional violence from either their spouse or their partners, and that's our stand. We stand against it totally. We are against it as a feminist organization that stands and backs up women in our society.
Over the last couple of days, so since the report of the demise of a beautiful young lady, you know, that's what we say in Sierra Leone, things would have to happen to lead us to a certain direction.
Yes.
And the reports coming out, the confidence we've seen as well from one other female to make known that her situation as well isn't as pleasant as people expect or imagine. But we've now seen some speaking up, but also it has taken the conversation to a point where some are saying we do have the victims amongst us, but they just don't feel bold or confident enough to report. How hard is it to fight for victims when they themselves are not ready to make known to the public that I am a victim?
Phoebe, I think it's not just they don't want to speak up. There are issues why women are not speaking up. For some of them, they are afraid. They are afraid of the perpetrators of violence. Some of them have not been encouraged because a lot of women have spoken up and they've been victimized. Do you understand? They speak up and they're like, well, what did you do? You could have done something for that person to lay his hands on you. Do you understand? So a lot of women, there are issues why women are not speaking up. And I think we just have to continue to be there for women. When they speak up the first time, you have to believe them. It doesn't need to be fatal before you start coming back to them and say, oh, well, yeah, you had said something before now. And also, let's give them support. Because we've seen cases where women go and report their husbands that I was beaten, I was slapped, and they're like, well, it just happened one time. Go back. You know, we have that thing of go beer for the pikindem. You understand? So these are the issues why we have a lot of women and girls who are not speaking up, because are we going to believe them?
But Fame, it gets really frustrating from a perspective that as a victim, you've seen videos, reports of other women who have been killed, either in matrimony as wives or just a spouse as a girlfriend, whether in Sierra Leone or some parts of the world. Not too long ago, a very popular gospel musician's story came to light after she had been killed. But it gets frustrating for people who encourage these victims to say, speak up. You keep saying speak up. They refuse to speak up. Yet they see that other women and girls are dying. It gets super frustrating.
I think we can't relent because in the end, it's becoming fatal. People are losing their lives now. We can't relent. As a friend, if you know something, encourage the person to speak up. There are lines of communication wherein people can get help, because the most important thing, it's not just to speak up. How can you get help? That is also another thing. A lot of women are being traumatized. Do you understand? When I speak up, will they believe me? So it's also another thing of helping them, because sometimes we are also not helping the situation around victims, because they do want to speak up, but are we going to believe them? Are we going to help them? How are we going to back them up? When we go to the FSU, what is the FSU going to do? Is my environment going to point fingers at me? This is the woman that reported her husband, that the man beat her up. Now you want green, then don't beat. Do you understand? There are questions like that that they ask victims. So how would you want to speak up? As a community, as women, we have to back each other up and help each other when it's time to take action against perpetrators of violence in our communities.